Lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey, this is Jay Foreman, the host of Old School, 3 to 6 p.m. here at 93.7 The Ticket. And one of my favorite things to do is come down and meet all the fans before and after as they cheer on our beloved Huskers.
This message is brought to you by the Downtown Lincoln Association and 93.7 The Ticket.
This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockoven.
Oh, yes, thank you for joining us here this evening on Nuclear Heat, our WWE Week in Review show. We're talking pro wrestling here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bockoven here, joined by Nuclear Heat contributor, my tag team partner, Augie Pena. And we've got plenty to talk about as far as the wrestling this week, as Elimination Chamber is coming up. And, of course, with Elimination Chamber coming up means that WrestleMania is on its way. So we're kind of getting through the interesting stories to build up for the big show in WWE. And we had a few Elimination Chamber qualifying matches this past week. We'll have some more this upcoming week. So that will be fun. I always like matches with stakes on them. But there's plenty to talk about in general. Augie, how's it going this evening?
No, it's going pretty good. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful day here. You know, the wrestling's been pretty good. Elimination Chamber buildups, you know, going all right, and we're in WrestleMania season. It's life is good right now.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. The only thing in wrestling that I wanted to mention, other than the weekly programming, which we'll get to in a second, is the injury to Braun Breaker. He's out indefinitely, apparently from flipping that table.
Yeah,
you know, on his last appearance. It's not always from the crazy, you know, mishaps that they have or anything like that. This was simply flipping a table. Interesting creatively where that's at right now. We had another masked man come out and attack a member of the Vision. So many are thinking that's Seth Rollins. Whether it's Seth Rollins actually in the suit or not might be a way to get the Seth Rollins character getting some stuff done without Mr. Rollins being healthy enough. But one way or the other, not the best time for a Breaker injury. Did, of course, come up short against CM Punk in a recent title opportunity. Eliminated quickly by that said masked man in the Royal Rumble. And then, of course, I mean, that was a major storyline. That was going to be, okay, where is this going? That's, you know, that's not something you would do without some plans for it. So it'll be interesting to see when we pivot, if they pivot and what they do next year with the Vision without Braun Breaker. Will Seth Rollins get back in time for WrestleMania? Same now with Breaker. I think that would be ideal, but you just have to know about the health of these guys. But ideally, you'd have Rollins and Breaker at Mania.
Yeah, you would. And man, that injury, flipping it, that seems like something we would do. You know, at our age, you know, these non-athletes. You know, not that we're not athletes, but you know, not professional athletes. Not those types. So when I heard of that, I was like, man, that's devastating. And what a horrible time for the Vision, right? They were supposed to be this huge faction under Seth Rollins. You know, he gets the injury, so they turn on him. Braun Breaker's supposed to be the guy. I don't know what they're doing with him because, like you said, he was eliminated in the Royal Rumble before it really even started, gets injured, has lost like 4 championship opportunities already. And the two guys, they have Logan Paul, but I mean, the two real wrestlers they have focus there are Austin Theory and Bronson Reed. And those are guys that, I mean, Austin Theory is getting pinned, you know, doing the exact same thing, you know, the exact thing we were worried they
got
do.
A scarf now.
Yeah. And that just makes no sense to me there. You know, so really they're not going anywhere. And, you know, with that mask, man, that's not Seth Rollins in, you know, under the mask. You could just tell by the body type and everything. That's just not him on there. But yeah, they need to, you know, I don't know how long Seth is supposed to be out, but Braun Breaker, did they announce what officially that injury was, or?
No, I think it's just that he's out indefinitely.
Okay. Sure. So yeah, so man, a guy that's supposed to be one of the, the building blocks of the WWE right now, only what, like 26, 27. Yeah, being out on the road to WrestleMania when he's supposed to be the guy of a faction. That's not a great time there. And I just want to say, if this masked man isn't John Moxley or, somebody like spectacular like that, I think I'm never going to believe another masked man again in the WWE because, the first one being Austin Theory, they bring him back. He just gets pinned, every match. Like literally he's getting pinned every match now. Every time he steps foot out there. And then this one, was supposed to be Seth Rollins, but Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, if it's not somebody like that, then I just don't know where this story's going here.
Yeah, I mean, there's an idea. It could be Grayson Waller, obviously with the past with Theory, but that wouldn't quite be the payoff. I think I love Grayson Waller, but that's not, a big time storyline. I'm still a little upset they never had them officially break up because I thought there was something there. So I think the Braun Breaker injury is getting surgery to repairing a hernia is the problem there. So it's tough to rush those back.
Yeah, I mean the way he flipped the table, and it was just a crash out, right? It was just a crash out promo. So that's devastating. But a hernia, yep, that definitely sounds like something we would do. Playing pickup ball or something. Just picking up the basketball. So hope he comes back soon because WWE they need him. And not to be essentially like a jobber like he's been. I hate to use that word, but Braun Breaker, he's been losing everything, right? And then to get it's just the worst timing for him.
And it is just altogether just, the vision had so much potential when it started. And then, of course, I felt like it took, the turn on Seth maybe needed to happen, but then you lose kind of the mainstay, like the focus of the group. And then, okay, well, maybe Paul Heyman can elevate these guys. Now you've got the injury there. Maybe they got to strap the rocket to Logan Paul, who's full-time in. I think he's probably got the most star potential out of the group at this point, with Braun Breaker sidelined. But yeah, I mean, it's so far from where I think the expectation was from SummerSlam to now where WrestleMania is building up. I don't know what to do with them and what they'll do with them. So we'll see what happens. But man, they just, for a while they didn't have a name. They kind of finally settled in on the vision. It just has never gone exactly the way they wanted to. You always have Paul Heyman playing backstage politics. That can be fun. And he's walked out Brock Lesnar a few times. So maybe that's the fix is just bring Brock Lesnar in, then you get a whole gang. But the whole idea behind Lesnar is you don't need a gang. I mean, he's kind of the one-man gang that can toss around people. So I don't know if there's an easy fix. It's wrestling. Again, that's why shows like this are entertaining. It's because this sort of stuff can come up. It's not all just what you book and how you plan to put things together. It's these injuries. It's contracts. It's backstage arguments, drama, that sort of stuff that can certainly throw things around. Now the Masked Man altogether is a Triple H staple. It's just becoming even that is. Need a little bit something fresher than that at some point too. So again, with the bad timing of this is like, man, so we're just going to sit with the Masked Man attacking. I mean, he took out Theory. He's going to do the same now to Logan Paul in an important match and Braun. I mean, how long is this going to drag out? And if it's not Rollins, and like you said, probably not Rollins actually, personally in that, but if they don't come out to expose this as Rollins in the end, it's going to have to be something pretty special to make it all worth it. So a little bit something they've got to work on there with the vision, find some alignment for them going into WrestleMania. But let's open up with Monday Night Raw. We also could talk about SmackDown from just a couple nights ago. But if there's not something major from either show, we'll just do it as it was broadcasted. And SmackDown was good. Don't get me wrong. There's people getting in Elimination Chamber, but I think we can go from Monday Night Raw. So we'll start there. Again, Elimination Chamber on February 28th. Monday Night Raw, one thing that bothered me a little bit even in now as they do all those the walk-ups, right? You get to see a lot of the guys and gals walking into the arena. That doesn't bother me. But they showed AJ Lee walking in with Becky Lynch behind her frustrated. I get that they're maybe to remind you that they're not on good terms or something. But Becky Lynch then opened up Raw, and then they had AJ Lee interrupt her. And I'm just thinking, how great would this have been? AJ Lee was off TV for weeks. If you actually have her music hit and surprise, I just never understand. That's the special fun part of wrestling is even though she wasn't out long, don't get me wrong, she was before, but we just haven't seen her on TV in a couple weeks, so it would be a surprise to see her. But they ruined the surprise from the first segment by walking into the match.
Yeah, that was a little, because I think they did the whole CM Punk and AJ Lee walking in, right, and then Becky, and she was like distraught, right? That age, it just didn't make sense. And I'm gonna say this as we'll get into this a little bit more here with that too, but I don't know about you, but the characters of Becky and AJ, just when they talk on the mic, it kind of irritates me because Becky is really good on the mic, but AJ, you can tell she's not been around for a while. It's like her character is a character from 15 years ago, right? It's like it never evolved, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, the both of them doing that. But yeah, I agree. They like to ruin the surprises nowadays, don't they? It's like you never get a genuine pop or reaction. I mean, you get this Royal Rumble, I think, was a little bit better, on the women's side. But normally, other than that, I mean, for the past like 2 years, every surprise, it's like there's no more of those returns that just really made you tune in or be like, oh, you open up social media, you're like, oh, this person just came back. Let me do that. They just tend to not do that anymore.
Well, and I certainly look forward to AJ Lee returning. You're right. I think on the mic leaves a little bit to be desired as far as, kind of keeping the crowd involved. But like even her music when it comes out, like initially, again, that you haven't seen her in so long. Okay, it's exciting. She's just not getting a whole big of a pop, and I think they're building this whole Becky Lynch AJ Lee feud potentially for WrestleMania, certainly for Elimination Chamber, and I think they kind of buried it like they do sometimes with the couples matches. Like, why didn't we get behind the AJ Lee return and make it something credible and exciting from the beginning? Instead, we've had her in couples matches, and then the in a group match, Survivor Series. So I don't know, but in any case, AJ Lee did talk. Becky Lynch is once her pound of flesh there. AJ Lee talks her into putting the Intercontinental Championship on the line against her at Elimination Chamber in the hometown of Chicago. So that will be at least exciting, something to look forward to. Elimination Chamber. The only thing is, I'm thinking you set all this up. This is a WrestleMania opponent. How are you going to quickly turn around? You got to have something for Becky Lynch to do, unless interference or something there. I'm not expecting a clean finish, is what I'm saying, with Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. And then the other part is if AJ Lee does unseat Becky Lynch as the champion, I think that it would have made more sense to maybe hold that and not have the whole drop to Maxine Dupree, get it back, all that sort of stuff, because the moment just isn't as big.
Yeah, it's not. And, I talked about the way they interacted. I thought this was just cringe 101. I don't know how she got baited into this. She's like, I'll wrestle you, but it's not for the title. And then AJ's like, oh, but it should be for the title. And then Becky's like, okay, fine. I just didn't really like that moment. And it wasn't really believable the way that they were interacting there. But, AJ Lee made some great points. She's 2-0 against Becky, even though, like you said, it was a couples match and then in a 5-on-5 at War Games. And it's in Chicago. So that's where AJ Lee's from. CM Punk, it's going to be kind of a big, because CM Punk's defending it as well that night there. So, it's going to be a big homecoming because that's where she came back too, right? Last year, right? I think it was in Chicago. And that's where CM Punk. So, Chicago's is their place and everything there. So, yeah, I don't get where this storyline's going for Elimination Chamber either, because it's like, yeah, if AJ Lee wins, okay, then Becky Lynch gets her rematch. Okay, there you go. But like you said, it kind of lost its sauce, right? Because do you really expect Becky Lynch to beat her at WrestleMania there? But if AJ Lee gets beat in Chicago, that's, we've seen it, but that could be such a big momentum killer because it's her first one-on-one match. And, you have her lose there. And then why would Becky Lynch agree to, a WrestleMania match? So this, this should be just a WrestleMania match. So they're kind of putting themselves in a corner here if it goes wrong.
Yeah, it is. It's just interesting because, as a aside to the AJ Lee problems, again, Becky Lynch went back there and dropped the belt, got it back against Maxine Dupree. And you're just thinking, like, if they knew that was kind of in a holding place before you get to AJ Lee, why not build Becky? Like, I get it. Maxine, like, she's great. I mean, it was a good feud. Becky Lynch was able to get the most out of Maxine Dupree, put her in a spot that should, like, so I get it, like, for the Maxine Dupree angle, but for the Becky Lynch angle and the AJ Lee, which at one time was maybe like the hottest or among the hottest feuds that you'd want to see in the women's division, it feels like they've just been milking it for too long, and I fear they're going to milk it once again at Elimination Chamber to get it to WrestleMania. So just depends on how you want to look at it. Maybe that would build it up more. And we'll see if they can get it that way. Or sometimes you just kind of get tired of seeing the same thing, and different people have different views. Like we said, sometimes you could keep giving us the match and eventually call it a blood feud, and then you kind of okay, well, yeah, sure. But some things just get stale if you keep going at it. I still think Becky Lynch is, when you talk about mic, I think she's great on the mic. It's just her character has evolved too so much over the years. I love what Becky Lynch is able to do. I just feel like there's just not much fan reaction, like you're saying, to AJ Lee, even on the mic or somewhat slightly after her music hits, right? It's always exciting to get the music going, but then there's just not, it's not like a crowd of and then is going crazy in the background. Let's move on to the next match there, the World Tag Team Championship between the Usos and Alpha Academy. Of course, Alpha Academy now Otis and Akira Tozawa. They earned this shot by beating the New Day and the Creed brothers, who appeared out of nowhere, to earn this shot at the Usos. Face versus face, as far as good guys and good guys. So there's always the challenge there, but the crowd seemed to be behind both of them. I mean, naturally is what you would think, but especially behind Alpha Academy at times, as they were the underdogs. I do want to say it was interesting and a little bit refreshing to hear Tozawa talked about his history of being a wrestler and successful portions of it, where usually they're kind of put him in the corner of being the goof and silly guy that can't get wins, which he has certainly fallen into in WWE, but that was kind of refreshing. But ultimately, Jimmy and Jay deliver a 1D to Otis for the win and a successful title defense. Of course, by pinning Otis, you don't necessarily need to have to prolong this, rather than pinning Tozawa, which you might have to. So no surprise there. I think all along, everybody expected the New Day to move on in their first title defense, not lose to Otis and Akira Tozawa. The question is if WWE feels like they saw, the crowd reacting to Alpha Academy, and if this is the start of a push or was just kind of a little bit of a favor to get him some TV time. But that's the question. Did they do enough to get more TV time?
And it's interesting because I feel like the Alpha Academy's kind of always had the crowds behind them, right? They're just like that lovable, Otis, since he got his Money in the Bank taken away under Chad Gable. And of course Akira Tozawa, who's just been around forever since I can remember. I was surprised when they were in this match and they were announcing he's been a champion all over the world, but all I ever remember him is just being a ninja for the 24/7, Speed Championship, Cruiserweight, the workout videos, all that. Like, he's always been a comedy act. And then you watch him and you're like, okay, this guy's actually, he's another R-Truth, right? Could be a really good wrestler if they were just to kind of give him an opportunity. So I think so. Cause if you look at the tag team division, I mean, outside of the Judgment Day, when JD comes back, who really is their competition? They don't, on the men's side, you've got like a billion teams, going after the title. I forgot who the tag team champs on the SmackDown side was. And all that stuff for like the 10th week in a row. I keep forgetting who it is. But you got like a million over there. And then on the Raw side, you have like the same three. And one of them is the War Raiders, who got destroyed by Oba Femi, and all that stuff. So yeah, I think, Alpha Academy's kind of got to be that. But I mean, who's going to be the Uso, because you can't do Uso and New Day because, the New Day are just absolutely nothing right now. So, going into WrestleMania season, that's not really good when the Alpha Academy is probably going to be, your top competition for that.
Well, of course, Jimmy did tell Jay too, to go after kind of your singles belt as well, which I think might be, depending on how they do it. We know it's Jay. I mean, they could absolutely love him once again, but they just put him back in this tag team. I think that was to, set up a triple threat for a match to get into Elimination Chamber and just set it up as though he's got Jay's blessing. Jimmy's blessing. I don't assume that Jay, now he certainly could win that and still go to Elimination Chamber because of the star power that he has, but I don't see him winning Elimination Chamber. I think that him and Jimmy, the Usos will be defending the tag team titles at WrestleMania.
I mean, they might be, because last year I think the SmackDown Championship got left off of the title, right? Got left off, and that was the better one because that was the 6-man ladder match, right?
They did on SmackDown.
And they did it on SmackDown, whereas the Raw one was the War Raiders and the Judgment Day.
It was New Day.
Yeah, New Day, like an absolute just nothing. And then one other thing I got to say, I don't want to spend too much time with it, but I hate how they still do Jay's entrance for their tag team together. Like, if if they kind of rebranded it that way, but Jimmy and Jay, they're still their separate, like they still have their own gear, but they're still doing Jay's entrance. And we've talked about it. It's overstayed. It's welcome. I know it's for the fans, but man, that just really, and then I don't know if you noticed, but that walk took like a minute for them to even get to the crowd today.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like, or last Monday, I'm just like, come, I know it's fun, but maybe just keep that for when he's by himself. So it's not every single Raw. Us as the audience, when we're not going because they never come to Lincoln anymore. We're not staying, watching it for a minute and know, okay, this is the time to go to the bathroom or something like that.
It's not quite the Undertaker going to the
No,
ring,
not
but
at all.
It definitely does take some time. But you're right. I mean, they are milking that as much as they can, that entrance. So that will go. Despite your critique, and I agree with you, I think they're going to keep doing that, unfortunately. Then we had Liv Morgan's promo. She came out with Dom Mysterio. It didn't take too long for Stephanie Vaquer, the champ on Raw, to interrupt. It was kind of interesting, too. Mysterio and Vaquer were going back and forth in Spanish. Of course, this one day after the Bad Bunny halftime show. So I thought that, I don't know if they were they were playing that either way, but that was kind of fun. Vaquer ultimately told Liv Morgan that she hopes that she gets chosen so that she can beat her. And then I can't remember what Morgan exactly said, but it made Stephanie Vaquer then slap Mysterio.
Yeah.
And so that was the end of that one.
Can't say that word.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
That's
it's a word we cannot say. But this is where I'll say being bilingual, has its advantages because there's no subtitles unless you put subtitles, right? And so Stephanie Vaquer, speaking Spanish, a little bit different than what the one I speak and all that stuff because she's Colombian, I want to say. So they have a little bit different accent, but that interaction, I thought was fun. It was good. Liv hasn't decided. I really think it's going to be Stephanie, right? Especially after this one because you forget Jade Cargill is the women's champ on the other side. That's just something else there. So yeah, I thought that was fun. And man, I mean, can you imagine a Liv Morgan, Stephanie Vaquer? I think that's like the top women. That's like as good as you can get for a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah. And then again, Liv Morgan, obviously a very good choice. To get this opportunity. And with both of them, too, it's even entering Elimination Chamber, which we'll get to in a second, but they're really stacking Elimination Chamber with like put over veterans.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Liv Morgan. She would be in that category, but it's because their champions are first-time champions, kind of new to the mix. So usually you kind of do the opposite, but they, just where they're positioned, it's like, let's load up. And I think that's going to make Elimination Chamber very fun. We'll get to that right now. Elimination Chamber first qualifier here. Rhea Ripley against Lyra Valkyria and Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile was able to showcase some of her strength there, especially with the Tower of Doom spot, which brought all three of them crashing to the floor there from the corner. Ripley ends up winning this with catching Valkyria with a running knee and a riptide for the win. Gets the spot in the Elimination Chamber. I know you're a little bit over Rhea Ripley, and she's certainly right now a tag team champion. This feels like, again, a spot to get an over veteran into the mix, but likely probably not going to come out of that the winner. It's hard when you ask these questions. Was it the right choice? I think with this group, absolutely.
Yes.
But, then you always kind of question, well, they put this group together. But I like Rhea Ripley in Elimination Chamber. Just like I said, she is part of a tag team right now, but still as a singles act is as far as believability and just excitement. I mean, the crowd still goes crazy for she's a perfect choice for Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I agree. Especially against Lyra Valkyria and Ivy Nile. If you got Rhea Ripley in there, she's coming out winning. And this is one of those I'm not a hater of Rhea Ripley. I just think they need to do something else with her, right? Like be a little bit I don't even know if creative, because they're pretty creative with what they're doing. I mean, they paired her with Io Sky, they got that going. But she just overpowers everybody. But yeah, Elimination Chamber, I think this is the perfect opportunity. And this is why I love like a 6-man Elimination Chamber, because you can have the top of the top and the bottom of the bottom, and it's just going to be fun, right? I don't think she's going to win the Elimination Chamber. I think she's going to probably be in the tag team championship for WrestleMania. But yeah, anybody that beats her, or if she takes the pin, that whoever wins, that could be, that elevates them there. And I will say, I agree with what you said previously. I know we'll go through them, but that women's Elimination Chamber card, that's going to be fun. They are stacking it, and it's great because if Liv does pick Stephanie, that challenger is going to take on Jade. And boy, that talk about a horrible reign as a champion and somebody that needs something. that's going to be someone that's going to be able to help her there. And kind of what, her first or second title defense, I think.
Yeah. She beat, I can't think of the newer name. We're going to talk about it here in a second. Who'd she beat on Friday? She reminds me of Ivy Nile. Just
Jordan
like
Grace.
Jordan Grace, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but that
was there.
That was like a weird buildup for like ever. And you thought Jordan Grace was going to win the Rumble or something. And she was like eliminated in 2 minutes. And then they continue. It just doesn't make sense what they're doing over there.
They certainly did not make it very believable that Jordan Grace was going to compete too much there. And she didn't. And so we'll get to that here in a little bit. Michael Cole was to conduct an interview with CM Punk in the ring, but Finn Balor interrupted and demanded a rematch with CM Punk in Chicago at Elimination Chamber. I always like how they do this. Adam Pearce was out there. Oh, no, absolutely not. Not going to happen. But CM Punk says, yeah, let's do this. Now, Cole, afterwards, once all this kind of settled down, Finn Balor was left the match. So they went to the ring, excuse me. And so they went to Michael Cole for the interview again. Emphasized that Punk was risking his title match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but Punk tells the crowd he's a fighting champion, and I get why they do that too. Is the fighting champion portion of it that makes you really the crowd get behind the good guy and all that. But sometimes I wish just don't mention that part. Right? It's just like, yeah, we get it. Like the fighting champions part is good, and you get that crowd reaction there, but you're also just reminding everybody. There's no way in hell Finn Balor is coming out of that as a winner, at least it's hardly believable to begin with. But when you specifically highlight that Roman Reigns, CM Punk is coming in for WrestleMania, as long as he beats, Finn Balor, then it's like, all right, well, I'll still watch it because I'm a Finn Balor fan. But a lot of people might not even need to tune in for that one.
It's just so disappointing because we talked about Finn Balor as just somebody that needs these opportunities. Once Elimination Chamber was announced in Chicago, you're like, okay, Finn, don't go challenge CM Punk. He's not losing. And like you said, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, that's money, right? That's something there. Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, I would be okay with that, because that could be kind of but there's nothing there, right? There's no buildup. Finn Balor hasn't won a match since like 2024 or something like that, and while he's phenomenal in the ring, I mean, if you're kind of going off of the story, he probably should have beat CM Punk, right? In Ireland, I think is where they were in his hometown. I don't know. I just don't know. Last year, Rhea Ripley dropped her title to Io Sky right before WrestleMania. Yeah. So that, that was something. But I don't think CM Punk Roman Reigns needs a third person.
Oh no.
In there. That needs to be one-on-one. So if you do the Io Rhea, because that became a three person, right? A triple threat. You really don't need that. That would ruin it. But as a Finn Balor fan, you're like, you just want him to get his opportunity. And the interesting is, I think right before this, backstage, Dominic was kind of telling him, you had your chance. Yeah. Chill, let someone else do it. And so once again, they're kind of sprinkling in that Judgment Day breakup there. And that's the storyline. But I don't know, man. It's, as a Finn Balor fan, I have his shirt, like I don't buy a lot of merch like that. I have Finn Balor stuff, and I'm so disappointed. I'm like, he's not going to win this, and this is the opportunity he's going to get. I just want him to win something.
Yeah, and it certainly could lead to the long some people say overdue. I love the Judgment Day, how it's been, but certainly could lead up at some point. I mean, if you want money for WrestleMania, Finn Balor versus Dom in some sort of way, and the crowd's starting to get behind Finn. I don't mind if they put it off again. I did like that little tease that one week where it's like CM Punk was telling him, come to the good side, basically. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, for half that episode, I was like, man, I hope they don't. This is ridiculous. And then he turns on CM Punk. So, maybe we'll see how it happens and how it turns out. But hopefully Finn Balor does get a little bit of a rub from all this at some point. But he's not going to win that title.
No.
Next up, we had Maxine Dupree and Natty. Mentor versus mentee here. But, of course, remember, it was Natty that cost Maxine Dupree in the title rematch against Becky Lynch. But before the bell could even ring, Natty was attacking Dupree. In fact, brutalized her, sent her to through the ring steps, the ring post, and then applied the sharpshooter on the commentary table. Took AJ Lee coming out to make the save. And then Becky Lynch attacked AJ Lee as she was trying to help Maxine Dupree out, sending her into the ring post. So, for a non-match, there's a lot of violence in here, at least. And it's kind of exciting to get those two stories a little bit more heat to them. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, we're going to have Maxine Dupree versus Natty eventually. The question is, are they building Natty, or are they just kind of, giving her some TV time for Maxine Dupree to further kind of try to get her up the roster?
I think it's that. I think they're trying to do it for Maxine Dupree because Natty, I mean, we've always kind of wanted her to be this kind of just brutal person, right? Just do it like your dungeon training and all that. That's fun, Natty. Like the Raw Underground Natty. Yeah. That was fun. They tend to not do that. So I think that's the way they got to go. And I'm going to say Maxine Dupree, while she is a lot better, than she was, she's still very green, I think. And so, having her with 3 former champs, 3 veterans like this, if they do like a mix, are they going to do a mixed tag or not a mix, but like a tag?
They probably will.
Yeah,
this
they'll
week.
probably do a tag match or something this week. And something like that. So I think, that could be good for her, but she's still got a lot to improve on.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We still got half a Raw to talk about and all of SmackDown. We'll do that coming next year on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Hey, this is Jay Foreman, the host of Old School, 3 to 6 p.m. here at 93.7 The Ticket. And one of my favorite things to do is come down and meet all the fans before and after as they cheer on our beloved Huskers.
This message is brought to you by the Downtown Lincoln Association and 93.7 The Ticket.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination, or did they recognize an opportunity? Discover a career that lets you help families reach their financial goals as you build lasting professional relationships. One with unlimited income potential. From Modern Woodman, a leading fraternal financial services provider.
I'm Modern Woodman Regional Director Sean Erickson. Call me at 402-483-6515 to learn about career opportunities.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep the clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street, online at doubleeagle.golf.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first. Now is the time to get a glimpse into living and learning at Doane University through a personalized in-person or virtual visit. We know once you experience Doane, you'll see why it's a place where you can achieve your goals and shape your future. Schedule your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit.
Looking to get a room downtown or near South Lincoln? Abe Lincoln would tell you no to the Ford Theater and yes to Lincoln Hotel. Save up to 40% off downtown Lincoln prices with a nice clean room and comfortable stay. Lincoln Hotel is locally owned and offers a day pass to the city's largest locally owned gym, Good Life Fitness. Long-term stays are available. You can learn more about pricing and book your Lincoln Hotel stay today at staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. That's staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get?
Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines. Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at lincolnairport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on Nuclear Heat talking the last week of pro wrestling in WWE. Thanks for joining us. Tell your friends if they're pro wrestling fans. We're here every Sunday night from 9 to 10. Let's jump off where we started, or get back to where we jumped off, I suppose, with Javins and the original El Grande Americano versus Rayo and Bravo. Excuse me. Now, the original El Grande Americano was the surprise, right? So I thought that was a good surprise there. Not too much of a surprise if you would have thought about it, but still worked out pretty well. The new Americano, Ludwig Kaiser, ultimately shoved Chad Gable, the original El Grande Americano, off the top rope. It looked like Bravo might be able to pick up the win, but instead he dived headfirst into an OG cutter from Evans, which got the wrestling community talking like crazy. It would be, it was quite the jump in the show of athleticism from Javon Evans. My only problem there was the person below that was going to be taking the hit.
Yeah.
They rolled out of the ring way too fast. Now, I get it. It's better safe than sorry, but just it did not look, Bravo wasn't going to land on anybody if he did land it. So there was that, but it was still a really good show of athleticism there, as the original Americano then added a diving headbutt for the win. What do you think? Is this going to be original El Grande versus the new El Grande Americano at WrestleMania?
Yeah, this is kind of what we've been predicting, right? I just think it wasn't executed correctly because of just kind of how they did it, right? They've been pretty lazy with it. I'm gonna say Chad Gable with that full beard under the mask. So I think that's kind of he didn't shave it, right?
I don't think so. Huh?
No, yeah. I think that's kind of a cool look for it there. But yeah, I think they've kind of botched it with, like you said, giving everybody different names, kind of telling us who's who. It could have been fun, They never would have. We knew who they all were, but they just never did that, right? They didn't acknowledge it. They played dumb with us on there, but kind of the way they're setting it up here, it's just like, Chad Gable, okay, Ludwig, it's Chad Gable versus Ludwig Kaiser. Come on, a comedy bit, which, don't get me wrong, that's gonna be a fun match, right? Because they're both really good in the ring. But yeah, I just think they kind of botched it a little bit there.
When if it does end up being that, remember that will be El Grande Americano 2 WrestleMania matches, Chad Gable 0, as if you could believe it. Now, like we're saying, we know who's behind the mask at this point. Chad Gable and Ludwig Kaiser. They're phenomenal. I can't wait till we get those characters back. So I don't know how long this lasts. Again, I assume it's going to go to WrestleMania and pay off there. Like you're saying, they probably could have done a better job. We still don't know why they aren't getting along. At one time, it seemed like they were on the same team.
Yeah.
But since the original El Grande Americano came back, they've kind of been at odds. So that's all interesting. Then we had the Elimination Chamber qualifier, Penta versus LA Knight versus Austin Theory. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Logan Paul and Bronson Reed were supposed to not get involved, but of course they ended up doing so. And Reed even delivered a tsunami on Knight before Adam Pearce got out there and ordered them away from the ring. That's when Theory, like we were talking about earlier, did send Penta over the commentary table, but then the masked man came back and attacked Austin Theory. Of course, Paul and Reed were focused on the masked man from that point. Knight was able to deliver a BFT on Theory to cash in his ticket to Elimination Chamber. Of course, again, good news for LA Knight fans.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the men's Elimination Chamber looks to be Cody Rhodes or bust here. So it might not be the ultimate payoff that LA Knight wants to get. But again, in one of the, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He'll be in the picture again.
Yeah, you get, like you said, you get very excited. You're like, hey, he won, and then you're like, wait, it's Randy Orton, it's LA Knight, Cody Rhodes. Probably at this time, we don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be Cody Rhodes with just how everything's going. And was it Damian Priest?
Damian Priest is going to attempt. He's got a match this week.
So they only have in our time right now. It's just those three.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So yeah, you're like, man, just don't be eliminated first. And don't be the runner-up this time, maybe take third, then it won't break our hearts so much. But yeah, he gets the win. They continue their, Triple H's favorite masked man theory on there. And yeah, it kind of just goes from there.
Yeah, we'll see. And of course, the champion being Drew McIntyre is why I say it's obviously for Cody Rhodes. I mean, they've been building that story for quite some time, as long as Drew's the champion. Now, maybe they'll make a switch and there'll be something here. But LA Knight's kind of been feuding with the Vision, who we've mentioned is losing steam. So maybe something happens there at WrestleMania for him, but they'll need some story building for that. And that was the main event on tap for next week's show. Like we were saying, a couple different matches for Elimination Chamber. Bayley, Asuka, and Natty in the Women's Chamber qualifier match. Who you got there?
I think it's going to be, I don't know. I mean, Asuka, maybe.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Bayley. They're probably going to do that. On there. I don't know. Asuka could be a lot of fun though, because she's got that whole thing with Rhea Ripley and they're kind of having her with the Kyrie Sane thing. But man, talk about, Natty, probably not, but it's going to be between Bayley and Asuka, and which is sad because, they're kind of being forgotten as, being great. Just kind of because they're with their tag team pairing, kind of focused on that. But, that could be a really fun triple threat there too.
And then I don't think you can go wrong here. Javon Evans, Gunther, and Dominic Mysterio in the men's elimination.
I think it's going to be Gunther. Just the way they're building him. I think it's got to be Gunther. But Javon Evans is he's like Kofi Kingston 2.0, right? And then of course Dominic Mysterio is Dominic Mysterio on that. But this is what I hate when they put three great ones in there and you got to choose. But I ultimately think it's Gunther.
Yeah, and if Gunther is in that match, that would make it significantly more interesting.
Yeah,
because then he could maybe supplant Cody. And would he go after Drew? I'm not really sure. He's talking about going after a title. But.
I mean, we'll talk about it. But the way they did Cody's match, you're thinking they ruined the whole Elimination Chamber with everything they just did there.
It looks like it's Cody or bust. And then you'd obviously would have the problem with Gunther and Drew McIntyre both being heels.
Yeah.
So in very, very heelish now, not necessarily leaning toward a turn. So that would be interesting too. We'll have to see what they do there, but it looks like it'll probably be Cody. We'll get to that here in a second too. Thanks to GBR Captain for chiming in, asking how everybody is doing, saying Jesus Christ is King. We appreciate your comments there. Let's jump to SmackDown, and we'll finish up SmackDown in the next segment. But it's a long show now, so we can't just save it all for the final segment. Tiffany Stratton opened up SmackDown. Nia Jax and Lash Legend interrupted, but Ripley and Io Sky came out to give the good guys the upper hand. That way, so Tiffany Stratton just kind of bowed out and got ready for the tag team title match between Rio, Lashley, and Jax. This was good action for a while till the ref just broke it up, called for the bell while everyone was fighting at ringside. We'll certainly, have a rematch here, and I think Rio will continue to win this thing. But it was just kind of odd because it's pro wrestling, and I don't know why. Sure, there were bodies everywhere and everybody's laying down, but I don't know why it got to the point of the ref had to call it in this case. He didn't really, I don't think he counted them out. He just was like, all right.
It never makes sense when they stop it, right? Because they always stop when they want to go at each other. It just never makes sense. And if you were going to forget that it was Valentine's Day, this episode of SmackDown did not let you forget with their gear they were wearing,
right,
that it was going to be Valentine's Day on Saturday. But yeah, I agree. I think Lash Legend and Nia Jax, when you talk about believability, they've got some believability with their strength and just what they can do there. So I don't think they'll, win the titles off of Rhea and Rio, whatever whatever we call them. But hey, they're if they want to do they probably won't, but a 4-team tornado type of thing or a ladder match for the women. I think these two in there would be destructive, and that'd be a lot of fun.
And I think that's the way to go. I hope that's the way they go for WrestleMania. Moving on, Carmelo Hayes was shown backstage telling Matt Cardona and Apollo Crews out of nowhere that the Open Challenge was closed this week. And he went out to the ring and called out for Ilya Dragunov. Of course, they've had some pretty good matches between him and the Mad Dragon. But before the match could start, Solo Sikoa and the MFTs came out. And of course, they had the numbers, so they started taking advantage of that. Cardona and Cruz, who were just, I guess, because of proximity, were there to come out and help. And then Shinsuke Nakamura came out. Also, I'm not really sure why, but I mean, these are all the good guys versus the bad guys. Nick Aldis then came out and turned this into a 10-team tag team match. Interesting that it turned out. Again, I'm a huge Tama Tonga fan. But they've been giving him a lot of like wins.
Yeah.
And, his like running elbow is fine. I don't think it's the greatest looking finisher of all time, but it works. They give him the win here again. He pinned Mello, which might give him a shot or an argument at the U.S. Title opportunity there. So I think maybe that's what all this was setting up is for Tonga to legitimately go after Mello. But of course, he's been talking and having matches too with Shinsuke. So little bit interested in where all of this goes. Additionally, if you're not confused enough by 10 people being out there, the Wyatt Six appeared in the crowd, and then we went to commercial.
Yeah, this felt like just a messy, rushed like I don't even know. You lost count of who was who, where was what. But yeah, I agree that Tama Tonga, I think that could be a lot of fun, right? Before his injury, he was getting a lot of praise. Everybody was, because he still does like yeah, right.
He sometimes he hasn't been doing
but
it
that's
as
like
much,
his
but
that
I
was
love
his
that
thing on there. But yeah, this was just a mess of things on there. But will this be WrestleMania or will this be the SmackDown before WrestleMania? I think probably the SmackDown before WrestleMania, how they're doing it. But it could be a fun program to have Carmelo Hayes kind of going against them and the MFTs and all that stuff, because I'm gonna tell you the truth, I'm getting very tired of the MFT versus the Wyatt Six because they just don't do anything fun with it. It's just they're not doing anything exciting.
And when they do, Uncle Howdy gets pinned. So you're like, what's the point of any of this?
And then it's Bo Dallas. It feels like it's not even Uncle Howdy. It's Bo Dallas that's getting pinned. So yeah, I agree with that.
Before we go to break, we got to finish up the rest of it. But GVR Captain just says, thank you for giving Jesus Christ a shout out. I saw the first WrestleMania on pay-per-view. I'm an old school WWF guy. Who's your guys' favorite wrestler?
Oh, mine's got to be The Rock.
The Rock, favorite of all time?
Yep.
I would probably go with Mick Foley. I'm a big Mick Foley guy.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, he was a fun one under Mankind. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back and finish out Nuclear Heat coming next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if retirement savings will last? Markets' ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Hi, I'm Edward Jones, advisor Ryan Buck. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, let's work together to help you ensure you're prepared for the journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek. It's a new beginning. Stop by our office at 8380 Old Cheney Road, Lincoln, Nebraska. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Bagels and Joe is the best place to start off your mornings, and you can order your breakfast ahead of time on their app. February's cream cheese flavor is white chocolate raspberry. Pair it with a strawberry cold foam. Stop by any of their 4 locations in Lincoln and their location in Seward. Bagels and Joe.
Is your furnace ready for winter? Call Bryant to perform a thorough check for comfort and peace of mind. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. Whatever it takes.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and right now at Koppel, we are offering big discounts on all of our inventory. 2026 GMC Terrains are leasing at $279 per month or buy for $27,690. 2026 Canyon is leasing for $269 or buy for $40,980. Also right now, all new Equinox EVs and all half-ton trucks are starting at $12,000 off MSRP. These are just a few examples of some of the aggressive pricing going on right now at Koppel. Please stop on in or check us out at koppelcars.com. All leases with $2,500 down and with a roof credit.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today. Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines. Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on Nuclear Heat talking about SmackDown from this previous week, a segment that I wish we didn't have to talk about. R-Truth, Damian Priest, Kit Wilson, and Nick Aldis in the back, and all of them laughing throughout it as they I can't even talk about it on the radio. I don't know how this got on modern TV, but it did. Of course, they're taking their shots at Kit Wilson. Kit Wilson would return later in the night with some poems for Obafemi. This was not very nice to Obafemi. So Oba challenged Kit Wilson and his poems to a match next week. And throughout that, again, Nick Aldis was announced that Damian Priest would have a chance at getting into the Elimination Chamber as well. So kind of a lot there. Obafemi coming in and feuding with Kit Wilson. 3 months ago, I told you absolutely not. But Kit Wilson's pretty entertaining right now.
Yeah, but didn't he just like jobber him?
He did already beat him. Yeah.
But not just beat him, but just jobbered him.
Yep.
So that I don't know. It's a little it's weird because Kit Wilson felt like he was kind of ascending a little bit, right? And now you're going against this 6'3", 330-pound just beast of a man, who I think. Is he in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match?
Not yet, but they need to
get him in there because if he can be in that Elimination Chamber, not even win it, but just be in it, you're talking gold with those guys.
Well, and I don't know how much, they're going to prepare him for WrestleMania and, all that sort of stuff. But him and Brock Lesnar, I mean, just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do anything else, unless it's really well done, I mean, that's just the obvious.
Yeah. And then have him beat Brock Lesnar to finally retire the beast. And then you have a new beast. That's not a scumbag.
Well, I don't know if they'll retire.
You need to do something like that.
But we'll see. Then we had a triple threat Elimination Chamber qualifying match. Alexa Bliss, Julia, and Zelina Vega. This was surprisingly just kind of a clean finish. Bliss hit Vega with the sister Abigail for the win. And again, with the women's Intercontinental, Elimination Chamber match coming up. Alexa Bliss is another former champion that you can throw in there and make it good. So I'm excited about that. The question here that I think a lot of people were wondering is why doesn't Aleister Black come out with Zelina Vega? Zelina Vega did the intro, did the whole thing without him. She comes out with him for his matches. Why does he come out with her?
I don't know. Do the male wrestlers normally come out with?
I guess not.
Because does Johnny? I don't think Johnny Gargano ever comes out with his wife.
Well, Dom does. They call him Dirty Dom.
Yeah, but that's because they're like, I don't know, because Carly Rae, Lorraine. I mean, I don't know,
Candice
man. You just broke my grand. Yeah, Candice LeRae. I don't know. In my mind, unless they're like really pushed as as like an it couple. I feel like you don't. And I feel like Dom and Liv are kind of like the it, CM Punk and AJ Lee, the it. Becky Lynch said, Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, neither one of them are really doing anything, so, I can see why one of them is not coming out with them.
Yeah, well, he's not a big part of the match, and thank God they're not pushing Juliana. So we'll move forward on that one. Yeah. Ray Phoenix versus Trick Williams. Sami Zayn hyping up Phoenix in the back. Trick Williams get the win. We're out to kind of go through these pretty quickly, so I won't talk too much about that. We talked a little bit about Jade Cargill already getting the win against Jordan Grace. Liv Morgan came down there again with Mysterio. In fact, they had chicken nuggets. There was a whole Valentine's Day date right there. But again, they didn't even move or think anything after Jade Cargill won. We talked about how this was kind of all set up kind of weird for Jordan Grace, who I think is a worse Ivy Nile. So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. They might have pushed her too soon. We'll see what happens there. The main event, what I wanted to get to, 20-minute plus match with a lot of one-on-one here, but it was a triple threat match between Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu. Fatu was about to win. Drew McIntyre comes out of nowhere to hit a Claymore and take him out. He also hit Rhodes with the Claymore, then put Zayn on top of him, thinking that he was going to help Zayn get the win and try to avoid, of course, Fatu and Cody Rhodes in Elimination Chamber to go on to WrestleMania. Right after Zayn took out McIntyre with a haluva kick, he didn't want to win that way, but Cody Rhodes didn't have any problem winning that way. He hits a crossroads to Zayn to get the win, and you finish the show with Zayn looking at Cody celebrating, somewhat in disbelief there. Very interesting. With one of these guys is going to hopefully take a heel turn. We've talked about it before. Sometimes the Usos are at odds and then they just kind of forget about it. So hopefully not, because this was beautifully done, I think. Sami Zayn, the eternal kind of good guy the last couple of years. Cody Rhodes, of course, has been the quarterback number one, right? You can get one of these guys to turn. I think it can certainly spice up kind of the good guys versus bad guys discussion, heels in faces that we have right now.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I was bummed that Cody Rhodes won in like a super Cody Rhodes type of way, right? Because you don't take a Claymore and then a beating and then hit one of the I'm gonna go with Roman Reigns, one of the weakest finishers in the crossroad. I just hated that, and Sammy should have kicked out and then got hit by another one or something. Make it a little bit more believable. But man, they push it so much there. But yeah, no, that could be a lot of fun. And another thing for me is, I think Jacob Fatu is going to be inserted. If Cody Rhodes wins that Elimination Chamber match and it's Cody versus Drew, I think Jacob Fatu is going to be put in there, and it's going to be a triple threat with just everything that's going on.
Well,
with that,
you could add Sammy in there. I mean, I don't even know if that would be bad if it was, again, changed Sammy's character into a heel. I think that would be interesting too. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot creatively that they can do, and just running Jacob Fatu out of it, to your point, doesn't seem like the best option right now. So maybe he will find a way in there. And we've seen a lot of McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's probably the route they're going to go is probably more than just a one-on-one match there at Mania.
Nope, 100%. And, like you said, a heel Sami Zayn could be a lot of fun, but man, they really just put Cody Rhodes as a golden boy in this one, right? Like, he just could not be put down. So, but we'll see. Drew McIntyre, I think, is doing phenomenal. I think all four of these, did a really good job in this. So we'll see how creative they get, if they're lazy or if, they actually do a great storyline for this WrestleMania match.
Yeah, or at least intrigued by the potential of a great storyline. That'll wrap it up for Nuclear Heat. We'll be back next week here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining us this evening.
I am Harrison Arns, producer of Ticket Weeknights and Weekends right here at 93.7 The Ticket. My favorite things to do in downtown Lincoln are checking out all the local sports events, whether it's basketball, football, volleyball, or even Lincoln Stars hockey. I enjoy it all because I get to experience one of the best sports communities in the country.
This message is brought to you by the Downtown Lincoln Association and 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, this is Doug Keller.